loving my fellow person as myself. Ubezchut zeh eftach pi, and it is on the merit of this commitment that I open my mouth to speak. Shabbat Shalom, beautiful Pnei Or friends and extended family far and wide. This Shabbos, Torah continues to unfold the mythic drama of human moral evolution. As you recall, when we last met Adam and Chava, they'd eaten from the tree of higher consciousness. We humans leave the garden to become artists of our own future, guardians of the planet and her abundant life. Alas, we don't do that very well. A steep learning curve. We learn incrementally and often stubbornly how we must use our extraordinary capabilities for the good of the world. And sadly, we see the devastating consequences of our refusal. Torah opens with two questions. One perhaps is existential, as we saw last week. God calls to the naked humans who are hiding in Gan Eden's foliage, Ayeka, where are you? Ever since the garden, this question reverberates to reach our hearts. Soon, a second question emerges. In some ways, it's rhetorical, for the answer that we must discover is presumed. Simply, yes. What is that question? Whose yes likewise reverberates with a compelling moral imperative. Hashomer achi anochi? Am I my brother's keeper? Hashomer achi anochi? Am I a shomer? Am I responsible for guarding my brother? Cain snarkily responds, as the blood of his murdered brother wails from the blood-soaked earth. There is only one acceptable answer. You bet you are. This yes you are calls to us, echoes in countless ways through the columns of Torah and her commentaries, including those we read today. All humans, Torah announces, are made in the image and pattern of divinity. Do not forget that. We see that most every Siddur opens with the Levitical expansion of this commitment, which we just sang. Hareini mekabel alai et mitzvat haborei ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Here I am, ready to take upon myself the mitzvah of the Creator to love my fellow person as myself. We are guardians of each other's well-being, guarding one another with ahava, loyal love. And who is our brother, with apologies for the gendered language? Not just siblings, but all fellow humans. If I won't make that commitment, the rest of the prayers are hollow. In the Gemara, there is a fabulous rabbinic dispute about the window of timing for Shachrit, the morning prayers. When is it light enough to begin them? Is it at first glimmer of light? At sunrise? When is that? Is it when first light appears in the east, or must it spread? How can you tell? Perhaps it is when you can distinguish between the blue and the white of your tzitzit, or see the difference between a wolf and a dog. No, say the Achirim. It is when it is light enough that you can recognize the person walking towards you, whom you may barely know, as your friend. Today, Torah offers hard lessons about the tragic consequences of not being shomrim for each other, of not having enough light to see the friend in the stranger, of wanton disregard for the sanctity of life. The mythic narratives that are embedded in Torah to teach these lessons are compelling and not simple. I use the term mythic purposefully, not as a way to say that these stories never happened, but in Joseph Campbell's and Jean Houston's words, to underscore the power of mythic narrative. A myth, a story whose themes portray universal and eternal truths about being human. Myths, after all, Jean Houston reminds us, contain the greater story that never was, but is always happening. The stuff of the evolving self that awakens consciousness. The tales told in Torah this week are definitely the stuff of the evolving consciousness. Powerful, but not pretty. They direct our attention to the enormous cost of greed and violence, to humanity and to the planet. They illustrate, educate, and warn in ways more complex than we can encounter in this brief time together. They elucidate moral and ecological imperatives that millennia later are still accorded more lip service than actually lived. It is 10 generations after Adam and Chava have left the garden. 10. That magic number that arrives in Torah to alert us that something new must be birthed into creation for humanity to advance. Today, in Parshat Noach, we encounter 2 generations whose enormous moral failures engender calamity and change. Dor HaMabul, the generation of the flood, and Dor HaFlaga, the generation of division, those who built the Tower of Babel and were then dispersed throughout the world. The sin of the generation of the flood is most explicit, but that of those who built the tower, not as clear. We dive first into the story of Noach, which in good Torahitic fashion does not begin with him, nor does it begin in this Parsha. So we'll dip back into the prequel for insight. He is the son of Lamech, 10 generations from Adam and Chava. And things are going dreadfully wrong. Rabbinic insights describe the wanton cruelty that had become the new normal in graphic terms. But just a peek at Lamech's swagger is hint enough. Cain's violence was peanuts compared to his accomplishments. He brags to his wife, Ada and Zillah. While in the market today, I murdered a young man for annoying me, and a second for bumping into me. 2 notches for my belt. Cain was a nobody compared to me. The rampant, normal, casual cruelty is shocking. Everything is destroying its way of living. The whole experiment gone dreadfully wrong. God is uncomfortable with the travesty, the dream of humanity and planetary life utterly corrupted. Scanning for a glimmer of relief. God's gaze lands on the human whose name is comfort. The experiment is deleted. Comfort, Noach, and his family do a restart, this time with a brit, a rainbow covenant of hope, mandating baseline moral behavior. But what of Dor Haflaga, the builders of the skyscraper to reach the heavens? What was their sin? Perhaps arrogance, but less explicitly clear. Enter the Midrashic literature, Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. What novel technology could even make such a tower? What novel technology would make building such a tower even possible? Not stone, but that new thing, brick. They baked bricks and began to build a tower, with laborers ascending with bricks on the east and going back down on the west. Bricks carried carefully by hand, higher and higher and higher. So, what was the sin? If a man dropped a brick, they'd kick him off the side. If he died from the heat and the burden, they'd shove his body to the side. But if a brick fell, they would all sit to weep and mourn the loss. Enough for now. You get the point. The ancient stories have painful resonance with too many contemporary ills. Not hard to see. Yet Noach brings comfort. And the rainbow covenant, a sign of hope. It's just that the work is not finished. As always, beautiful friends, we'll call one unified Aliyah. If anything special in this teaching speaks to you in a particular way, if you have a particular commitment to guardianship of people, creatures, or the earth herself in a special way that you would like to affirm or aspire to, you'll rise in any way you wish when we call our Aliyah and reach towards Torah. We enter the gate of Torah. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udvar Adonai miYerushalayim. Baruch shenatan Torah li'amo Yisrael, b'kedushato.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udvar Adonai miYerushalayim. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udvar Adonai miYerushalayim. Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadlu Adonai iti, uneramema
Shemo Yachdav.
Once again, as we call our unified Aliyah, if there's anything in this morning's teaching that speaks to you in a special way, or if you have a particular commitment to the guardianship of people, creatures, or the earth herself that you want to affirm or aspire to, when we call the Aliyah in a moment, you will rise in any way you wish, wherever you are, and reach towards Torah.
Ve'ya'azor יגן ויושיע לכל החוסים בו ונאמר
אמן.
הכל הבו גודל אלוהינו נכבוד לתורה יעמדו נא לעמוד לתורה ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו ואתם הדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם חיים כולכם היום.
Rise in any way that you might wish and reach towards Torah. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah
Eloheinu melech haolam asher nachal lanu torat emet v'chaye olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. ויהי כל הארץ שפה אחת ודברים אחדים ויהי בנס עם מקדם וימצאו בקעה בארץ שינר וישבו שם ויאמרו איש אל רעהו חווה נלבנה לבנים ונשרפה לשרפה ותהי להם הלבנה לאבן וחמר היה להם לחומר ויאמרו הבה נבנה לנו עיר ומגדל וראשו בשמיים ונעשה לנו שם פן נפוץ על פני הארץ. And now it comes to pass, when all who live in the land speak one language, and all are equal and united on the face of the earth. Now some travel future-wise and they find a valley where in Eretz Shena'ar, where they decide to act foolishly and in a juvenile way, and they settle right there. And one says to the other, let's do some building. Look, if we take mud and put it through the fire, it becomes bricks, equal size bricks, easier to work than stone and hard as stone. And we can take clay and make it into mortar. So they say one to another, wow, we can build a city, a tower, a high tower of power that will keep us in a dominant position over all others, lest we end up being just equal and scattered like they all over the land. וירד יה לראות את העיר ואת המגדל אשר בנו בני האדם. ויאמר יה הן עם אחד ושפה אחת לכולם וזה חילם לעשות. ועתה לא יבצר מהם כל אשר יזמו לעשות. הבה נרדה ונבלה שם שפתם, אשר לא ישמעו איש שפת רעהו. And now Yah's vision sees what they are doing, the city and the tower of power that they have been building, these children of Humus. Yah says, there was one equal people all speaking the same language, And now look what this has led them to. This is wrong. So now I'm going to change it, lest they continue doing this and going in this direction, one dominating the other. So now my presence descends and confuses their language, and it'll happen that one will not understand the language of the other. So now Yah makes it all happen. They have no choice but to leave their dominant power tower. And they abandon the project. For this, the place is called Bavel, because there Yah created many languages and scattered them all over the face of the world in the hope that they would learn to live as equals. Al Kain Kara Shama Bavel, Ki Sham Balal Yah Sfat Kol Haaretz Umisham Hevitzam Yah Al Pnei Kol Haaretz.
Baruch atah Yah Eloheinu Mekor HaChaim, Asher natan lanu Torat Emet, B'chayei olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai,
Noten HaTorah.
A short but cryptic narrative, which when we dive into it, we can see packs a punch. May the Holy One of Blessing, who has blessed all of our ancestors on our steep learning curve, so that the dream of humanity and planetary life might be fulfilled for good. Bless everyone who has risen today in any way to reach towards Torah, to honor God, to honor Torah, to honor Shabbos, with the fulfillment of your unique commitment to guardianship of people and creatures and the earth. That the dream of humanity and planetary life might yet be fulfilled for good.
Amen.
Amen. Beautiful friends, this narrative and our lives call for a lot of healing. The planet is calling out for a lot of healing. Humans and creatures on this planet are calling out to us for a lot of healing. We offer prayers for healing at this time. You may wish to bring to your heart the image of someone to whom all of our healing prayers might be transmitted from our hearts and your hearts to someone you love. If you're group watching, you might wish to hit pause in a second so that you can call out, you can unmute and call out the names of those to whom we send our healing prayers this morning. So you can hit pause. We call out in prayer the ancient words that Moshe Rabbeinu called out when Miriam, his sister, was stricken, and he prayed, Ana elna rafana la, please God, please heal. And she was healed.
Anna elna refana Ana Ela Refanala Ana Ela Refanala Ana Ela Refanala.
We ask for complete healing, refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf, the healing of spirit, and a healing of body for ourselves and for all of those whom we hold in our heart this morning. We stay present together as the scroll is lifted.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לבני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה ישראל ואורייתא וקודשא בריחוך הוא ישראל ואורייתא וקודשא בריחוך הוא תורה אורה תורה אורה הללויה תורה אורה תורה אורה הללויה.
Holding in our hearts a vision of the possible future, the best dream for humanity and planetary life, a world of wholeness, completion, fulfillment, and peace, a world of, well, unmute and call it out, a world of kindness, a world of love, a world in which we use our extraordinary capacities for the good of all, a world in which we are dedicated shomrim, guardians of the planet and her abundant life, a world in which our covenant, our brit, our commitment our commitment is to the best vision of what is possible, and not just baseline, but exemplary moral behavior. Od yavo shalom. Shalom will yet come. We pray that we will walk a path of shalom, radiating goodness, light, love, wholeness, completion, and peace into the world.
Shalom Aleinu, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו בעולם, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו בעולם. סלאם עלינו ועל כל העולם. שלום, סלאם, שלום עלינו ועל כל העולם. שלום, סלאם.
Holding in our hearts our power vision of the possible future, a world of shalom, of perfection, wholeness, completion, fulfillment, and peace. We offer at this time a Kaddish Yatom, a mourner's Kaddish, inviting all of those who are perhaps at this time in a time of mourning or observing a yahrzeit, or who perhaps have taken upon yourselves the commitment to rise into mourner's Kaddish in behalf of all of those who have perished with no one to say Kaddish for them. To rise as you wish and you are able. Kaddish Yatom.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבו, בעולמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון וביום חון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבו מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דנירן בעולמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן.
May there be a yet further soul ascent into the light for every neshama, every soul for whom a Kaddish Yatom was offered this morning. As is our custom, we close our sweet Torah service in Kelohenu.
En Elohenu, en Kadoenu, en Germanenu, en Gemoshienu, en Elohenu, en Kadoenu, en Germanenu, en Gemoshienu, Michelohenu, Michadonenu, Michadonenu, Moshiachenu, nodel Eloheinu, nodel Adonenu, nodel Malenu, nodel Moshiachenu, nodel Eloheinu, nodel Adonenu, nodel Malenu, nodel Moshiachenu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Magenu, Baruch Moshiachenu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Magenu, Baruch Moshiachenu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Magenu, Atahu Moshiachenu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Magenu, Atahu Moshiachenu. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat